And this week, I want to take just a couple of minutes and I want to talk about ambiguity, talk about leadership, talk about freedom, and how it works with your organization. One of the things that's really important, I think, for leaders that I discovered working with organizations and leading teams is that there's times when there's a confusion between the word empowerment and freedom. And empowerment gets confused, and because of that, there's an ambiguous result. There's not a lot of clarity, and sometimes it's just because leaders have a tendency with their teams to say, "Hey, look, I'm gonna let you go. You said you've got it, or at least I assume you've got it, and I'm gonna hope that it all works out." And when that occurs, you find that as a leader, your organization generally will stop performing. And a couple of things that you wrote. The very first thing that erodes is trust. The leaders know that you trust them, but they don't know the limits to the trust. They don't know where I can make decisions and where I can't make decisions. And because of that, they become they pause. They hit the escalation button. They drag you into meetings. There's an indicator you can check on that today. Open your Google or your Outlook and just take a look inside of those formats and see how many meetings that you're attending this week or last week or next week that are involved specifically for you to help make a decision, or you're going to be there to call the ball because nobody else can. So your leaders, your team, and those leading other people are stuck, which in turn has a lower level impact on the organization because you lead the organization, your leaders lead their teams then become stuck because you're not giving them a good decision framework. So there's a simpler way to think about this, and I'm going to give you a leadership tip this week here in the playbook, and that's to set up 3 zones. And in the zones of decisions inside of the body of your organization, I want you to think about 3 parts. The very first part is who in your organization and who on your team can decide without permission. They can make decisions because they understand the decision process. You've created a consistent process. They can make decisions without having to come to you to have that decision approved. The next zone, and write these names down, the next zone in your organization is who can make decisions that requires your input. And these are people who may be in training. They may be people who you want to ensure they are asking you questions so you can stress test the decisions that they're making to ensure that and get context for where they are in their decision process. The third zone is who in your organization only makes decisions when there is an exception, because exceptions are going to occur in your business. When that happens, you want those individuals, you want to know who those people are, and you want to make sure they're clear on what those exceptions are. And you, as the leader, set those zones up. The second part of that then is work with your leaders to help them set up those 3 zones in their teams. The first zone is who on their team can make decisions without having to ask for permission, who on their team can make a decision with input, who on their team can make a decision when there's an exception required. Because what happens through the body of the organization is those boundaries are going to matter more and more and more, especially as you grow, and even more importantly, if you're scaling at velocity. When you scale at velocity, ambiguity becomes very, very present. Hesitation becomes a serious problem and can literally grind your business to a halt. So every organization that I've coached has had unclear decision edges. So take the time to do that. I'll say it one more time. Who in your organization, who on your leadership team can make decisions without permission, who on your leadership team can make decisions with your input, and who on your leadership team can make decisions when there's exceptions. If the decisions are slowing on those teams, this is worth re-examining on a periodic basis regardless. I'm Donald White. I'm the empowerment guy. And if you'd like help putting these systems in place or understanding them better, reach out to me. Go to my website, Download the Empowerment Blueprint. That Empowerment Blueprint will also give you insights on how cohesive your teams are across 4 domains of empowerment I call the Empowerment Operating System. Thanks. See you on next week's Playbook.